Welcome back, folks, to another video. Happy New Year, or as I'm now affectionately calling it, Happy Level 1 of 2020. In the UK, we were plunged into lockdown number 3 yesterday. Hopefully, we'll get it right this time. If enough people play ball, who knows? You know, whatever. But I hope you're all keeping well. Yeah, welcome back to another video in the Body Language Explained series. I thought it only right, proper and true to take a look at Mr. Boris Johnson today, giving his address to the nation and his frequent appearances. It's only a matter of time before one of these videos found their way into what it is that I do here. And I've avoided it mostly because I didn't really want to contribute in any way to this zeitgeist of fear that seems to be going around, not just in the UK, but everywhere. So hopefully we can shed some light into the dark, non-verbal world of politicians to give you a peek behind the curtain as to what's going on. So if that's something that you like the sounds of, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Most of you that watch these videos aren't actually subscribed. So yeah, make sure you click that button, click the bell as well, so you get notifications of when other videos are posted. But first of all, as per usual, if this is your first time to the channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Ben Cardle. I am the author of what has become to be known as the book on the effective development of the skills of Sherlock Holmes, the monographs, and I now teach corporations, businesses and elite security personnel from around the world how to read themselves, situations, people and others for the protection of those in their group and those around them. Yeah, and it's led me on to some pretty fun work in some private cases. Now, more so than ever, is more enjoyable because I'm at home anyway, so I can increase my workload, which is a fortuitous circumstance that I understand not many people are in at this moment. So these are what these videos are about. If we can have a bit of a light look at some serious topics to gain a better understanding as to the thought processes, then I think that's only fun in its own right. Hey, we've got Mr. Johnson's address to the nation. We're going to have a look at, and pandemic, yes, Boris. Quiet you. Now, I didn't watch the address because if you saw Nicola Sturgeon did it before him, so you only knew it was coming anyway. But I did catch up on the news updates. I've watched a lot of his live press conferences, the live addresses to the nation, and I've seen the pictures of this. Boy, does he look tired and stressed, understandably so. So let's clear this one up right away. This isn't a political affair at all. I make my judgments on anything based upon the information that I'm able to read from the situations and the scenarios they're in, and make my decisions on what kind of people these politicians are as a result.
Since the pandemic began last year, the whole United Kingdom has been engaged in a great national effort to fight COVID. And there's no doubt that in fighting the old variant of the virus, our collective efforts were working and would have continued to work.
So but we know there, first of all, is a nice sense of gestural timing in terms of his head nods, his tonality, his verbal accents. There's a good alignment of the truisms that he believes at this moment were working and would have continued to work. If you notice when he speaks, because I think you haven't got to be a people reader to notice the eye movement in that he's reading from an auto cue. If you notice the difference between these types of appearances versus the ones where he's quite clearly freewheeling, there's a lot of that's his natural cadence. So he's been taught to slow it right down and do his reading, and he's accenting everything. Now, what we can't make the distinction between here, because there has been an undeniable level of coaching gone on. He's been told how to sit in this somewhat humble position, non-threatening, non-clenched. It's open. It's virtually this in terms of emblematic behaviours. Okay, hands clasped together. So yeah, there's the undeniable level of coaching gone on. So the distinction we can't make is whether he has been told to highlight these particular moments in terms of we're working and would have continued to work, or whether they're coming naturally. Either way, these are points that he is going out of his way to highlight. This could be because he feels sincerely about them, could be down to the coaching, but either way, that's what's looking to be highlighted here. It's the reason why Bill Clinton's infamous "I did not have sexual relations with that woman" became so obvious. The gestural timing was terrible. I did not have this all in alignment, and then it goes away. Sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. It's all off by them because there's an incongruence based on the growing levels of anxiety he felt over telling such a heinous lie.
Have a new variant of the virus, and it's been both frustrating and alarming to see the speed with which the new variant is spreading.
See, again there, frustrating, alarming, speed, new variant, spreading, right? These are all the buzzwords that he's looking to hit, right? Now, again, this could be because of the control of the nation that he's looking to gain, and I don't mean that in any kind of a tinfoil hat weary kind of way, because the reason we are in lockdown number 3 clearly is because people aren't following the rules, right? So if you can look to urge this kind of information into people's awareness, then that's been the tried and tested way to apply control over the masses politically, through wars, through certain religions, through certain tribes, is fear, right? And that's why I didn't really want to contribute to that. So we can highlight these points in terms of this is what he's looking to make us aware of.
Our scientists have confirmed this new variant is between 50 and 70% more transmissible. That means you're much, much more likely to catch the virus and to pass it on. As I speak to you tonight,
whatever's ringing in the background caused him a certain degree of anxiety there. So it might be stress over having to answer the phone, deal with all of this on an admin-based level. I don't know what that would be for a politician, but if you watch his blink rate grow over that point. So we'll go back a few seconds.
Frustrating and alarming to see the speed with which the new variant is spreading. Our scientists have confirmed this new variant is between 50 and 70% more transmissible. That means you're much, much more likely to catch the virus and to pass it on. As I speak to you tonight,
up within that short
our
space
hospital
of time, right? That's the growing sense of a heart rate flutter. We can liken it to in terms of feeling, which is offset by the fact that, if I put this down for a second, is offset by the fact that, let's try and frame this up so he's here, and this is all nodding, right? He's like an owl or a chicken in that when you move them around, their head seems to stay there almost by itself. So we could have likened this to a freeze behavior. We can't clearly tell because there's no digital tension in the fingertips for that controlled sense. So that very likely then that the feet are flat, placed down on the floor this way, fixed position, and this is where the nodding comes in. Right? If you notice again when he's left to his own devices in terms of the live press conferences that he gives, in terms of the updates that he shares with the nation, he's very involved with the hands, and then they start to come out to play a little bit more, and there are these gestures and these gestures and these gestures that come out. Right? This is the control that we're seeing right here. Could be a freeze response, right? It could be growing levels of anxiety in terms of having to do this again to a nation that, let's be fair, aren't really in favour of them. I'm not a Tory supporter at all, but make no mistake, this pandemic would have been horrible for anyone to try and take care of. Could have done it a lot better than this guy anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we've got the impeded control, the control of the auto cue, the points that he's looking to highlight. That's what I mean. He's a terrible public speaker. When left to his own devices, his nerves get away from him, his disingenuous nature, his true sense in terms of his morality, his almost megalomaniacal viewpoints in terms of his place within us commoners. Yeah. Hello. Let's see if that changes. I've just spotted something.
Are under more pressure from COVID than at any time since the start of the pandemic. In England alone, the number of COVID patients in hospitals has increased by nearly a third in the last week to almost 27,000. And that number is 40% higher than the first peak in April.
Okay, so we've got the growing emotional stress peaks in terms of heightened by a third, and it's not seen on his face at all. There's no reflection of the genuine felt state of that, grown by almost a third. You would expect something, an eyelid tension, an eyebrow raise. But it's done within the voice. Now, there's not a lot of comparisons to draw by that. I can't recall every highlighted moment that he's made from his live press conferences. So in terms of a congruous read, because that's all we can do, we can only look at the context of what we have here, right? So in terms of congruence, that doesn't fit, because his body, his face, his actions, his movements, they're betraying his vocal stresses.
On the 29th of December, more than 80,000 people tested positive for COVID across the UK, a new record. The number of deaths is up by 20% over the last week and will sadly rise further.
Okay, so there we got a bit of congruence there in terms of the growing sense of a felt state comes out, the eyelid tension, number of deaths there. Yeah, because he's not a robot. If he is telling the truth, if we look at this from a black and white state, there will be a felt congruence to the details that he's coming out with, right? So he clearly feels concern over the growing levels of deaths that are in this country. But I can't get away from his watch. This apparently went out live, and that was at 8 o'clock last night, 8 p.m. His watch says 12:40. That ain't live.
My thoughts are with all those who've lost loved ones. With most of the country already under extreme measures, it's clear that we need to do more together to bring this
together. There you go. Together, this is where it's the stresses are coming out in terms of the highlighted points
My thoughts
of this
are with all
prepared
those
speech.
who've
That's what
lost
they're looking at
loved
highlight.
ones.
Okay. So you can bet
With most
that,
of the country
if it follows
already
the
under
same pattern
extreme
here, what will
measures,
happen
it's clear
is,
that we need to do
they
more
will hit
together
some form
to
of,
bring this new variant.
some form of adjective regarding these scary numbers or things that are happening, and then trying to frame it around unity of the nation to get us all doing the same thing, right?
Under control while our vaccines are rolled out. In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant.
100%.
That means the government is once again instructing you to stay at home. You may only leave home for limited under control while our vaccines are rolled out.
Coming out in his thumbs there as well.
In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant.
Of the speech.
That means the government is once again instructing you to stay at home.
Go over this again.
You may only leave home for limited reasons permitted in law, such as
of expected backlash, it having to face an army of people that are sick of this shit. To be fair, because we've been playing by the rules for so long, it's a liken to if you've ever had to tell your partner or your spouse that you broke their favourite cup, or you broke something of theirs. I don't know. It's a weak metaphor, but one of the things that you do when you broach the topic, however the natural cadence of your speech is, your arms will go from relaxed to tense. They will tense through an action. They might tense through an asymmetrical gesture because you're used to gesturing this way, but there will be tension in the fingertips. There will be tension. It's a freeze response, okay, which is not necessarily 100% deception, as everything we're about context here. Let's not forget this is a video. We've got pause, rewind and everything that live doesn't have. So we've got to look at this for what it is. Freeze is a growing sense of anxiety or stress in this particular scenario, because we've gone from this behavior to the thumbs slowly growing up this way in terms of tension and stress and highlight, right? So this will be where we get to the what we can do, what we can't do, this type of thing.
To shop for essentials, to work if you absolutely cannot work from home, to exercise, to seek medical assistance, such as getting a COVID test, or to escape domestic abuse. The full details of what you can and can't do will be available at gov.uk/. To shop for essentials, to work if you absolutely cannot work from home, to exercise, to seek medical assistance, such as getting a COVID test, or to escape domestic abuse. The full details of what you can and can't do will be available at gov.uk/coronavirus. If you are clinically extremely vulnerable, we're advising you to begin shielding again, and you will shortly receive a letter about what this means for you.
See, what I don't get about these types of things as well is if you're going to coach somebody around a particular point and have them address the nation, you are immediately, I don't care who you are, but you are immediately going to lose your viewers' engagement. Not necessarily 100% completely, but you're going to lose some of it when you're reading, right? However impassioned that is, you're going to lose a percentage of that because it's overtly obvious that it's of a prepared nature, right? If you want somebody that was unsettling. Maybe Boris is coming to get me. If you want somebody to not necessarily agree with you, but to listen, to understand, to hear you, right? To take heed of the information that you've given to them. Then you've got to broach these topics from a felt state response, and you've immediately got that separation if you're reading, right? That's why actors learn lines; they don't read them. Okay, that's why they come from their development of character around the origin of the words and the scenarios, right? They develop the feelings, the actions, the motions out of it. Yeah, and if in this vein you want engagement of an audience to listen and understand the words that you're saying, you don't have to agree with them. You can be outraged, but for you to at least listen, you've got to engage everybody, and you separate that immediately the second you start reading. So what I'm saying is, hire better coaches, hire a memory expert, teach you how to memorize a speech.
And because we now have to do everything we possibly can to stop the spread of the disease, primary schools, secondary schools, and colleges across England must move to remote provision from tomorrow, except for vulnerable children and the children of key workers. Everyone will still be able to access early years settings such as nurseries. We recognise that this will mean it's not possible or fair.
There you go. That was the first break in the freeze response of tackling something massive, where you have to, whatever he's about to talk about. Obviously, we got the initial emotional context in terms of it not being fair, whatever he's about to say, but whatever it is will be significant. Okay, it's significant enough to have broken that freeze response. It's significant enough to have made his eyebrows move. It's significant enough to have made his thumbs move, the elbows move. This entire frozen sort of mannequin-esque kind of framework that he's developed has broken. Something's about to come out, right? It's shattered this, so it's grown to a point where it's about to be displayed and can no longer be controlled. So whatever this is that he's about to say is going to significantly affect a number of people.
For all exams to go ahead this summer as normal. The Education Secretary will work with Ofqual to put in place alternative arrangements.
But if you look as well, it's shattered, but he's gone right back into the tension in the hands. And if we look at the way that the fingertips are virtually gripping, his left hand is virtually gripping the right hand from the middle finger round to the thumbs, because you can see where the tension reflects in the skin. Deep levels there.
We will provide extra support to ensure that pupils entitled to free...
Slight pacifying in the fingers. Watch it again. Let's come right the way back.
Will still be able to access early years settings such as nurseries.
Oh God, oh God, oh God. There was the gulp, the pre-swallow, the moistening of the growing levels of anxiety, so we get a sense for his breathing as well. This is all good observations that we've made to support everything so far.
Recognise that this will mean it's not possible or fair for all exams.
Forgive me, it wasn't tension in the middle finger, it's just a shadow. I thought it was a pressed skin, but you can still see it in the thumbs as well.
To go ahead this summer as normal. The Education Secretary will work with Ofqual to put in place alternative arrangements. We will provide extra support to ensure that pupils entitled to free school meals will continue to receive them while schools are closed, and we will distribute more devices to support remote education.
That came out on more devices, so they'll probably be coming. The school meal issue was a bone of contention there in his non-verbals. Only a possibility in terms of the vote that went on earlier on in the year for free school meals to be removed, right? All I'm saying.
I completely understand the inconvenience and distress this late change will cause millions of parents and pupils up and down the country. Parents whose children were in school today may reasonably ask why we did not take this decision sooner.
True. My daughter went to school on the Monday, came back here, lockdown, schools are closed. She was like, what? Now, when 10-year-olds are becoming vastly aware of the, I'm trying to think of a polite word, the incapability levels of politicians, particularly ones who hold such a powerful chair as he does, then you're doing something wrong, pal. And this seems like almost a reverse method of one of Chris Voss's negotiating tactics, where you would say, oh yeah, you might think I'm this, you might think I'm that, you might think I'm the other, in a way to quash that response in the person that you're looking to persuade or negotiate with. So what he's done here is addressed some of the ideas that would no doubt be on pretty much every parent's mind that's been affected by this, myself included. The only reason I don't feel particularly persuaded by the notion of them having to do this at this time, and granted he's not got to the reason yet, but the only reason I don't feel particularly persuaded by that now is because of his watch. There's like 8 hours worth there of time that they've had, so they've been mulling around this lockdown idea since before that first day of school started.
And the answer is simply that we've been doing everything in our power to keep schools open, because we know how important each day in education is to children's life chances. And I want to stress that the problem is not that schools are unsafe for children. Children are still very unlikely to be severely affected by even the new variant of...
Highlighted again in the eyelid tension. Okay, so we've got a particular piece of conscious attention to highlight a particular point. That's only two parts, two observations that support his attempt to try and do that, right? Because you've got the voice and the tension in the eyelids. You've still got the mass amounts of control and anxiety elsewhere. Even in his tie, look, that's slipped by the people that have... So we've got the tie and the watch, two obvious pieces. The tie is tightened, the top button's done, but somebody has pulled it away a little bit, whether that be himself or somebody that's maybe not tied it high enough for him. I don't know, but the only abductive observation that we can make here is that in the loosening of the tie, we get to ventilate. Ventilation is done when our anxiety grows too high for the stress that we are feeling. Stress that he is undeniably feeling, but stress that he would be feeling more if he's having to convince us of something that he knows is either not true or most people aren't going to go for.
COVID. The problem is that schools may nonetheless act as vectors for transmission, causing the virus to spread between households.
Yeah, no shit. Teachers having to get involved with how many bubbles per day? I don't know how many's in a class. 30? I don't know. That's a guess.
Today, the United Kingdom's chief medical officers have advised that the country should move to alert level 5, meaning that if action is not taken, NHS capacity may be overwhelmed within 21 days. Of course, there's one huge difference compared to last year. We're now rolling out the biggest vaccination programme in our history. So far, we in the UK have vaccinated more people than in the rest of Europe combined. With the arrival today of the UK's own Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, the pace of vaccination is accelerating. I can share with you tonight the NHS...
Okay, good sense of gestural timing. He can they're moving out quickly. Oxford, AstraZeneca, I don't know if that was the right word, vaccine that's going out. Yeah, good sense of gestural timing. So this is something we feel more positively towards, right? There's no overt tension in the fingers, no pacifying that's going on. There's still not a congruence in the facial breakdown. There's still the overt sort of mannequin-esque lower half of the body, well, neck and down. But there's two observations in his favour.
This is realistic expectations for the vaccination programme in the coming weeks. By the middle of February, if things go well, and with a fair wind in our sails, we expect to have offered the first vaccine dose to everyone in the 4 top priority groups identified by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. That means vaccinating all residents in a care home for older adults and their carers, everyone over the age of 70, all frontline health and social care workers, and everyone.
If you notice throughout, whenever there's been a particularly tense topic, this blink rate has picked up, and if not, it's been a case of one every 15 to 20 seconds or so. What a place to stop. Oh, sorry there, Boris.
Who is clinically extremely vulnerable. If we succeed in vaccinating all those groups, we will have removed huge numbers.
Wondering if that was a Freudian slip again. Let's have a quick listen.
All frontline health and social care workers, and everyone who is clinically extremely vulnerable. If we succeed in vaccinating all those groups, we will have removed huge numbers of people.
Renew. Maybe that's something that's on his mind. That's a bit thin, though, to be fair. We'll skip past that one.
From the path of the virus. And of course, that will eventually enable us to lift many of the restrictions we have endured for so long.
Ooh, see, we got the incongruence there in eyelid tension. The eyelid tension going away from him there, right? Tension is akin to, on a non-verbal level, is akin to brakes, blocking, don't let this go, tension, uncomfortable nature, anxiety. When done in congruence with highlighting something that is of a negative nature that you want to highlight, this isn't really that good. That's when tension works in time with that, because tension is congruent with the negative thing that you're saying. But tension here in this moment, we know it's part of his behavioural makeup. The tension leaks out in his eyelids. But when he says it about something positive in terms of coming out of these restrictions mid-February, it's incongruent, and therefore there is either information in his head that goes against that response, or he doesn't believe that.
I must emphasise that even if we achieve this goal, there remains a time lag of 2 to 3 weeks from getting a jab to receiving immunity, and there will be a further time lag before the pressure on the NHS is lifted. So we should remain cautious about the timetable ahead. But if our understanding of the virus doesn't change dramatically once again, if the rollout of the vaccine programme continues to be successful,
this is on.
if deaths start to fall as the vaccine takes effect, and critically, if everyone...
That was one. Look at that. I'll try and stop that there.
Successful. If deaths start to fall as the vaccine takes effect, and
critically, with the teeth bared. Sorry, Boris, but I keep seeming to pausing you with your eyes closed, right? Critically, this is the most impassioned point, right? He's highlighted deaths again in the way he did before, so we know that is a congruous point in terms of where he is up here. So whatever's about to come out now, he feels particularly stressed about, particularly virtually angry about. If we want to be black and white about the levels of anger, right? Whatever watered down version of anger you want to call it, it's in that camp. But this has been the framework of what we've seen so far. Impassioned adjectives that either respond to controls coming up, numbers going up, deaths going up, and then control, what we can do. So this should follow the same thing. So it should be something about what we can do, right?
Particularly, if everyone plays their part by following the rules, then I hope we can steadily move out of lockdown, reopening schools after the February half-term and starting cautiously to move regions down the tiers.
Good
I want to say
timing
to everyone right across the UK that I know how tough this is. And I know how frustrated you are, and I know that you've had more than enough of government guidance about defeating this virus.
Okay, right? So these are points that he's been told. Because if you notice that when you sympathise with somebody or empathise with somebody, I've got a bit of an issue with the true meaning of empathy, but when you engage in those moments from a compassionate level, you share a felt response. So the fact that this isn't congruously seen within him, the most reliable observation we can make from an abductive reasoning standpoint, going backwards, based upon the information we have regarding his control, regarding his coaching, regarding the auto cue, the points that he's looking to highlight, right? So everything up until here, he has just been told that everyone's frustrated, everyone's pissed off, everyone's sick of this, and with him being in government, the only overflow in terms of non-verbals we see is there with the little cheeky smile.
This is, and I know how frustrated you are, and I know that you've had more than enough of government guidance about defeating this virus. But now, more than ever, we must pull together. You should follow the new rules from now, and they will become law in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Parliament will meet largely remotely later that day. I know that the devolved administrations in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland share my conviction that this is a pivotal moment, and they're taking similar steps.
True, and if you noticed, he clenched his fists around the standpoint. So again, tension betraying the true nature. So personally, based up, because I saw the whole stuff with Nicola Sturgeon on Phil, I saw that. So based upon looking at this now and the reactionary nature of this, he's trying to claim us as being in position number one, setting the lead. That's probably not the case.
Steps. The weeks ahead will be the hardest yet, but I really do believe that we're entering the last phase of the struggle, because
incongruence again there. Look at that. He's virtually got the he couldn't be any more opposite. Yeah, when he got these points before, we've got incongruous. We've got the congruent behavioural timing lining up, perfectly symmetrical. But this works against him.
With every jab that goes into our arms, we are tilting the odds against COVID.
There you go. The left hand wanted to go to catch up
of the British people. And thanks to the miracle of science.
So what that says is that he doesn't truly believe it yet. He's hopeful. He's hopeful, which is a good place to be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not casting aspersions at all. Given if you've ever watched I think it's At World's End, or I don't know if it's The World's End, but the last film in the Cornetto trilogy, where Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are in the pub talking about the human race being the most belligerent creatures on the planet. English people en masse are the worst ones.
Not only is the end in sight, but we know exactly how we will get there. But for now, I'm afraid you must once again stay at home.
There it is. See? Once again, stay at home. That's what has to happen. It's a categorical truism. We're back to the symmetrical standpoint in the hands.
Protect the NHS and save lives.
Protect the NHS.
Thank you very much.
Protect the NHS and save lives. And on that protect bit, he went from this again back to this. Anxiety control, because his party has spent a good number of years crippling it, to be fair. So there you go, guys. Again, not a political rant at all, but information that we can take moving forward in terms of how we read Boris Johnson's non-verbals and his body language to get a better understanding of exactly what's going on. If we're looking at protective measures, this is information that we can use to protect ourselves with. So if you enjoyed that, please drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, because there will be more. The New Year period and Christmas period's done for myself, so it's back to work. And yeah, don't be strangers. Like I always say, I always try and get back in touch with as many of you as I possibly can. But given the large number of comments, I can't always keep up with them all immediately. And yeah, hope everyone is keeping safe and well out there, guys. And to my fellow folks in the UK, don't be strangers, more so than anyone. Nobody. Don't be strangers, anybody, right? Mental health's a big thing. So if you ever need to talk, just reach out. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.